Hello, Michael. I said that as long as I can, I would produce an exegesis of your own videos. I will try to penetrate your mind and to prove you, hopefully, that what I call my highest self, which is what the philosopher Hegel, with which you're familiar, calls reason, and that your higher self are identical, that we differ in our personal peculiar aspects, but that the spirit which binds us together is one. And the only way to prove you that in the realm of spirit we are one is that I must prove you that I understand you so well as if I had created you, which I have not as an individual, but my higher self is the principle of all reality, and the only way for my lower self, which is the individual that you see, to liberate himself is to recognize himself in the whole of reality. And I will start by the minds with which I am most familiar, because I am a huge fan of your videos and I understand you very well. So I will comment your video about your journey from liberal existentialist to traditionalist. And you said that in your youth you read Sartre and Nietzsche, and that you were an existentialist. And in Hegel's philosophy, which is the philosophy of being, existence means that which gets out of the ground, the fundamental ground of all things, which is God, and to be thrown into existence is to be separated from God. It is to experience the terror of existence and the fear of being alone in a world which is alien and which confronts us, in a world which is scary and that which we don't understand, and we feel alienated and we are unconsciously seeking our identity or a sense of self, a sense of higher self in the world, because what all humans are unconsciously seeking is to reestablish their fundamental identity with God. And Nietzsche, with which you're familiar, says that the ancient Greeks had a vision of existence because they were aware of the tragic aspect of existence, and because they had this consciousness of the scary aspect of existence, they were able to produce a pantheon of Greek gods of beauty and nobility and highest meaning, which was so magnificent because they had this full experience of the problem of existence. And yeah, you said that you had a very shallow interpretation of Nietzsche, and hopefully I can help you with my limited knowledge appreciate the value of Nietzsche's philosophy, because I want you to remember that you are a Nietzschean figure, you are a Nietzschean character in God's eternal process of becoming conscious of himself, and I want you to become who you are. That's a Nietzschean sentence, werde der du bist. Become who you are. So you said that you started your path of transformation from liberal existentialism to libertarian, anarcho-capitalist, and then traditionalist. And Hegel says in his philosophy that consciousness, any consciousness, becomes what it is by re-establishing its own identity to self. Identity is never given a priori. It must be a rebuilding process, a re-establishment, a re-institution of consciousness. And you were not predicated from the outside. Your determinations, you set your own determination of consciousness, which are modes of being, to yourself. You started as a Catholic, and then you separated yourself from this primordial unity of the religious and traditional teachings that you received, and you became, by your own movement, which is not actually your own movement, it is God acting through you, but I am trying to make you become conscious of it. You became an existentialist, a liberal, and then you shifted away and drew away from that, and you rejected it, and you became a libertarian, and you wanted to affirm, to set the principle of self self-autonomy, of setting your own determinations, of being free. You wanted to liberate yourself in the realm of politics and to assert your own freedom and your own liberty, and to become free and responsible and master of your own destiny. You became an anarcho-capitalist, which is an extreme form of self-assertion in the realm of politics and economics, but it's still a will to be free and to be master of your own destiny. And then you became a traditionalist, and I would like to express a Hegelian idea that when we change our mind, when we negate our former self, we might think that the result is nothing. We were something, we had a consciousness and identity, and we negated it, and the result is nothing. Libertarianism for you is the negation of liberal existentialism. But Hegel says that the negation of a figure of consciousness is not the pure nothing, it is the negation from that to which it results. It is a determinate negative, so it has a content, and it is a movement of consciousness which is always self-negating, always transforming itself, always adapting itself, adapting new points, and consciousness does not know it, but it is moved by the will to re-establish its own substantial identity, which is identity with God, but consciousness doesn't know it, and the path of the soul, which is the individual mind, is set by God, and the purpose is to be reunited with God, and there is a dialectical process at work of self-negation, and which is the principle of all movement, and the reason why you are so important, Michael, and the reason why you are so brilliant and so spiritually elevated is because you have traveled a lot in mind and in spirit, and you have gone through the path of the negative in the intellectual realm, and that's what has given you your strength and your broad view of reality and your broad understanding, and that is that which has given you your intellectual strength and your character and your exceptional identity. Yeah. You said that the path that I took was necessary. Yes, because it was your consciousness, your individual mind, seeking to re-establish its primordial identity, and your real identity is the unity with God, and you can only become yourself by understanding your relationship with God and what God expects from you. And I am trying my best to illuminate you and to remind you and to make you remember who you are. You said that you had corrupt ideas about values, morality, and society, so you were already familiar with the realm of objective spirit. You are at home in the realm of what Hegel calls Sittlichkeit, and what we call ethics and morality and law and legislation and the judiciary system and politics. This is where you belong to. You also have an artistic and a cultural view of things. You are a lover of poetry. It enables you to broaden your perspective, but you are most familiar within the realm of ethics and morality and public life. And you said that you found pagan influences, and that you drew influences from your personal history, your Norwegian, Irish, German parents, and your Catholic background. And there's a Hegelian idea that the microcosm, your individual self, is connected to the macrocosm, to the whole of being, and you can only understand yourself by understanding your relationship with the whole of being. And your personal history, Michael, is related to the totality of world history, and you are what you are because all the determinations of being, American society, biological evolution, cultural norms of the modern West, spiritual revival of pagan influences on the internet. You are what you are because the whole of being is what it is, and you can only rejoin your real identity by understanding your position in relation to the totality of being, and it will liberate you, and it will enable to fulfill your destiny in a way. You talked about cleaning out the infected tissues. So you have a very harsh vision of your past, and you are already unconsciously on an alchemical process because you understand yourself as in a process of purifying yourself by negating your past influences and elevating yourself from an intellectual and spiritual process to the higher version of yourself, to the highest self possible. And you are already using alchemical terms, even though you are not conscious of it. You consider that your past as an existentialist liberal or as an anarcho-capitalist is the rotting influence, rotting tissues, and that you want to get rid of your former self and to elevate yourself to become gold by forging a new identity. But what I want to teach you is that it is God who is thinking through you, who is acting through you, and it is God who wants to make you gold and to make you become aware of your own true value. You said that you don't regret, and the first step of spiritual evolution is to accept your past with all its negative aspects as being a moment of yourself. You were determined by your past, but the moment you understand that, you consciously realize what has determined you, what has pushed you or influenced you to be the way you were, you can liberate yourself and you can forge your own path and continue to move. So you should not be ashamed of having gone through the path to which you have gone through, because it was necessary to your intellectual development, and you would not be who you are today and who you will become tomorrow if you hadn't gone through these steps. You said that there are no positive aspect in the negation, the negative aspect of your intellectual development, that you had a negating philosophy, a philosophy of no, that you said no to your past determinism, to the current modern Western society, to the influences that you received, to the state of cultural and political life. You said no. But Hegel's philosophy is the philosophy of the negative. It's the philosophy of the no, and whoever says no, whoever asserts a negation, to negate something, means in the end that you will meet Hegel somewhere in your path, because Hegel is the master of the negative, and every negation leads you back to Hegel, because he's the thinker of the negative. And I am trying to teach you and to make you aware that you are unconsciously a Hegelian, and I want you to become fully Hegelian by understanding your own history and your relationship with the world and your relationship with me, and to have a full conceptual understanding. So you wanted to say no to the established values. Yes, so it was a dialectical relationship, and the modern values of the West are the result, in a way, of the rejection of the generation of the 1960s and 70s who said no against the classical traditional values of Western civilization. And we are at the end of this process of negation, because the negation of the former Western values, or American values in the case of the United States, of the 1950s and 60s have reached their exhaustion. They have become exhausted. They have nothing more to say except exhausting themselves. And this process of negation brings about its own dialectical negation, which is a negation of the negative, a negation of cultural Marxism, of decadence, of Western degeneracy. And this negation of the current state of things brings about an assertion, an affirmative, a positive will to assert new values, to forge new values. And to go back to traditionalism is a way of negating modernity, and it's also a way of asserting our own identity. To say no to modernity is to say yes to tradition. And traditionalism, the king of the realm of tradition, is Julius Evola. And the purpose of my video is to show you that Evola expressed in the realm of mysticism and religion what Hegel expressed in the realm of philosophy. And I want you to become a fully conscious Hegelian, and I will continue my videos until the moment you realize that you have always been a Hegelian, and that you can only fulfill your highest being, your highest self, your highest worth, by becoming consciously what you have up until now unconsciously be. And I will continue to make my videos, and I know that when the time comes, you will watch them and you will understand them. It will take many detours, you will misunderstand me, you will doubt me, and I don't blame you for that. I understand the necessity of it, but at some moment you will understand and you will awaken to your real self.